Get started. All right. So let's start with our questions.
Let's see. I got a small job here to bid, and I was feeling comfortable enough. I was going to actually use this. Everything seemed to be working pretty good. I can't seem to get the location to print. Now, if we type in the location in this area, should that show up on our report if we've got it checked?
It should.
It's not coming up.
Because we relabeled it. We changed the label.
All right. Well, let's check a couple things then. Do me a favor. Scroll over. Nope. Just hit cancel. Scroll over, and it doesn't seem to be applying the location right there. So did you add it after you added in all the products?
No, I think I did. I think I did the summary, and then I typed in the description. I can't tell you for sure which one I did.
Well, highlight the location for me. Nope, the one you typed in. Yeah, and hit Control C, and then go or copy, and then go up there and paste it in for me, and just do it on all of them. It should do it automatically. Oops, I think you double did that one. Yeah, you don't want to do that. Just kill that one off. Yeah.
So does it matter when you do it? Is that where you're thinking that I did it after I should have?
I do. I think it might have happened after the fact. So just for fun, let's test the theory. Go ahead and right-click on base bid. Let's add a summary. We can delete it when we're done. Call it test location or something to that effect. Okay, and then highlight the test location description you just did and paste it into the location. And now drag something in and give it a 1. Click OK. Do. Okay, and scroll over. Ooh, it's not bringing it in for you. That's super weird. Go to Help About. What version are you guys at? Okay, there is a newer version, 10117. All right, I'm going to test my theory here. Let's try something. Because it should definitely be working right away. You can click OK on that.
So when you type in the location, it's supposed to populate to the right over here?
Yeah, it should absolutely throw everything in that you just, if you put it in as that location, it should definitely add something into that. So test location. Let me just see if it works for me. If it works for me, then we know we got a different issue.
It seems like it might have worked before on the other jobs we were playing around with, but we were playing around with them so much we don't know what we did. So.
Okay. Well, if that's the case, then I'll feel better about it that it's, just not working on the one for whatever reason. Let me just drag one thing in and that'll answer my question for me. So if it's working on mine, then we know it's something else. Nope, it's not working on mine either. Huh. Okay, I think they have a problem. Location.
So it's not us, it's you, you're saying.
That's right. Have you ever had somebody say that to you? It's not you, it's me.
Yeah.
Well, I'm always the mom that walked in the room when everyone was crying and looked my son dead in the eye and said, "What did you do?" So in this case, I think it's my software. Location not populating automatically. Let me, I will send this up to support because I was able to recreate it. So that's definitely not what we want. Clearly the workaround is what we did. where you would just highlight it and then paste it in. I do know that drawing reference doesn't do it automatically, but location is supposed to do it automatically. I will tell you that usually the other nice part is that when this comes over to ShopPack, it will put it on every one of the products as well as everyone. Then when you start printing labels, it'll print it on the back of those labels too. So that can be a really neat thing, especially if over time you grab two locations, like 102 or 101 kitchenette, and then maybe there's another kitchen, but they have almost the same kind of cabinets. And so you say, I'm going to merge these together. Customer doesn't care how we bill it. I want it to go through the shop as one, so I'm going to merge them together. Well, a lot of times it's really nice to throw that location in. And you could do it after the fact. You could do it when it gets over into ShopPack and throw that information. And then when it prints the label, it'll say, this is the 102 kitchenette, and the other one is 105 kitchenette. So you really have that breakout, which is super nice. Now, of course, if we do it here at the quoting process, well, that just makes it even easier. So it's a great habit to get in. If you know it, throw it on there. But it absolutely should be self-populating. So let me see what's going on with that.
So you're talking you can kind of batch things together, like
yeah.
batch things on their own.
Yeah, absolutely. Some people will take, two rooms that are super similar and say we're going to build them at the exact same time. Ultimately, they're going to be delivered at the exact same time, so let's throw them into the same one. That would be one reason why you might do it. Another one is just for ease of what's going through the shop. If you use work groups, a lot of times with a work group, you might batch all of your base cabinets into one and all of your countertops into another, or just your casework is into one. So it kind of depends how you flow through your shop now. So ultimately, it'll be something you want to think about when you have ShopPack and how that runs through.
Okay. Can we look at the delivery and installation charges? I added some in there, and I wasn't sure exactly what it all is calculating.
Sure. So let's look at the base bid, and right now we don't have any delivery or install, so we haven't dragged in the delivery and install assembly. So do you normally just...
That's different. Okay, so I was just using the calculator, and I actually didn't put anything in there, so I guess...
Oh, yeah, remember you have your own delivery and install summary or sub-assembly over there. Assembly, good Lord.
So I guess we start with the calculator, and just, I guess make sure, go to right click on base bid.
The miscellaneous one?
Yeah, miscellaneous installment. So this is what you're saying, it's just a calculator, it's actually not putting anything in?
It's putting time, dollars, just dollars. It's not putting in any kind of hours. Whereas because you're interested in using ShopPack, it's just not a great habit, because ultimately, even though you've brought this over as an X amount of money, you definitely want to have true hours. Because if you're saying it's 20 miles to the site, but I need to make 5 trips, well, how many hours is that? That kind of becomes important to you. So if you look at it like this and you see, okay, it's taking 3/4 of an hour to do this, is what this is saying right here. You see that? Number of hours, it says 0.73. So that's like, 45 minutes.
Okay, so yeah, I typed in the 20 miles and the one guy, and yeah, we're just going across the river, so.
Right.
Okay.
So great calculator. So now you could go in, you could drag in the delivery and install and say it's going to take an hour to install or to deliver this if you wanted to. Now let's say you had to make 5 trips. If you change that from a 1 trip to a 5, where it says manual over on the right, there you go. Oh, nope.
Oh, right here.
Yeah, that's what I figured.
To a 5. And then tab out of it or click something else. You can see it immediately increases it. Now it says it's 3.64 hours. So it's almost 3 hours and 45 minutes now. So in theory, if you needed to make 5 trips, basically that's what it's saying. So great calculator, but for you guys in your world, if you want to see it as labor hours, you would definitely want to then just use that.
Okay, can you show us how to do that? Okay, we've calculated here, now what?
Yeah, perfect. So click OK. And you want to remove that because you've got it in there. So if you just right click on that base bid again.
So that's actually not putting it in there?
Oh, it's in there. Yeah, absolutely, it's in there. Here, don't remove it. Go to the summary tab. And see your miscellaneous charges right there. It's underneath the cost, $37.
So it's only put in $37 for install or for delivery?
45 minutes additional install. Or delivery, excuse me. And that's before profit and markup. Profit and excuse me, overhead and profit. So there's where that calculator thing it's great, because if you're wanting to add, let's say, a hotel, well, now it's going to put in just money, which is great. That's what you want. But if you really are making a physical delivery, you probably don't want to use the miscellaneous install and delivery charges, especially since in your brains you guys would like to use ShopPack someday. So I would say go ahead and right click on base bid and remove it. Okay, and now you can put it under the horizon where you've got that field measurement. So click on that and go over to your right and open up your delivery and installation and grab that one and bring it in. So now you have the opportunity to put in how many load hours, how many unload hours, and how many install hours. So let's just say you want to put in 0.75. Okay, and click OK. And it's going to be a 1-to-1 relation then, because that's all it was. It was just delivery. So now if you went to, say, your line types at the bottom, you can see that you've got your installation or your delivery there is at 0.75. So the cost is $12 before all the other fun things.
That's going to be interesting. We go out 8 hours and load the truck, then delivery.
Right. So you just put it in as load, which is okay. Just right click on delivery and install again. Click edit row. And so now if you want to do load and unload, you can put in 0.25 for loading it, or 0.25 for unloading it, and 5.5 for loading it, type of thing. And that'll equal it out. I mean, it's the same price. You can see it was $39. So it's not very different than the way it was figuring it the other way. But at least now we've got true labor hours that the guys would punch in and out of.
Okay, what about the actual delivery, the drive, the gas and all that stuff?
So usually that's considered overhead. But if you're wanting to figure that in, then again, your miscellaneous delivery install might work for that, because you can just use your fuel charges and things like that. You normally charge for gas?
Well, I don't know. I mean, like before, we were just charging a flat fee per delivery, but we'd like to learn, a better way to do it with hours. And, I mean, if we left that calculator in there, it's charging that amount. Or?
It is, yeah. As long as it's open and a part of it, then it's charging that, yeah.
So how do we get that to go, I guess, apples to apples into this? Like that came up with a delivery charge of, I don't know, $500 some. How do we get that into here?
It came up with a right click on base bid for me again.
Or I don't know if it was 500, but.
So put in the 20 miles, one guy, 3 hours. And then one trip. You have to put the radio button there next to manual.
Total delivery price is $144.66.
So now if you look up, the $37.35 or the 3/4 of an hour is the cost. Okay, it's over to your left where it says miscellaneous delivery at $37.35.
Okay.
The $12 is the one we just brought in at 3/4 of an hour, because it's not including a calc of a travel time, and it's not including the fuel charge the way we are doing it. So if you wanted to, we could actually remove the one we were looking at, and this is how I would have done it in the past. So click OK, and I want you to remove the delivery and install on the left. Yep, just right click and hit delete. Okay, and go back up to your base bid again, and right click on the delivery, the miscellaneous delivery, yeah. Okay, so now you can see it's $111.62. So basically, what's your shop rate?
16.
With overhead and profit?
No, it's like 50, 52, yeah, 53.
Okay, so 2 hours, basically, right? So that will cover fuel, it'll cover travel time, it'll cover the guys getting there, and it'll equal the $111.
Okay.
So, I guess I don't. I mean, so that's in there now, or?
She's going to go back to use the delivery and install charge and add 2 hours worth of shop time.
Right. So instead of taking it by the number of hours, if you really want to have that fuel charge and that calcing of the additional monies, then we really want to use this total delivery price of $111, and we basically want to say what do we need to do to get to $111 for delivery, because that will cover you all the way across then.
Okay, so you're basically just adding in labor to get to that.
Correct. Exactly. You know, if it's true time that you want, which is normally what people do, they don't care about the travel time or the fuel charge, but you guys do, so it's important to you. So I think,
well, I don't know if we do or not. Like I said, we're kind of coming from putting a number, to kind of tell us how we should do it.
Well, you want it to be realistic, and so I guess I'd like to see what would happen, after we do a couple of jobs. How far off does it come? If you're going to just, most people either do it as okay, we charge 10% for the job, or we charge 20%. For me, I would know that there were times where I had one GC that would say to me, hey, can you bring me 3 cabinets? And it would be, are you freaking kidding me? Well, that's great that it's 20 miles away, but you and I both know that stopping what you're doing, loading a truck, running out there, it's not really going to take that amount of time. It's going to take more, and you lose a guy in your shop. So guess what? I want to pad the crap out of that, because this guy is a pain in my butt, and I want to make sure that I charge him enough money because he makes me stop what I'm doing and bring him 3 cabinets. Whereas the other guy who says, hey, I want the whole job at one time, whew, that's fantastic. That is a flat fee kind of a thing. And then you could look at that and say, okay, I charge X amount. I don't know how you guys did it in the past. For me, it took me this long to load this kind of cabinet, this long to unload that cabinet, and this long to install it. So those 3 things were pretty specific for me. Now, if I knew that there was an elevator building or something like that, then I might pad it and add a little bit more. So 5 ways to do everything. I keep telling you guys that. I mean, it's kind of a weird way to think about it, but so let's think about it the way we just said. $111. We'll go back to the horizon over on the left, drag in our delivery and install, and I think we said it was about $50 an hour is what you charge. So put in 2 hours of nope, just leave that as a 1. So 2, put 1 in 1 to load it, 1 to unload it, and click OK. Let's see what it comes in as. So click on the delivery install, 105. Pretty close, huh?
Yeah. Okay.
So, I mean, it's that kind of a gig. You can kind of think about it like that. And now it's covering you for everything, including the overhead of the fuel, etc.
Okay.
So instead of using, like if we remove that, because we don't have to have that in there, right? If we're doing this?
Correct. Right. I would prefer that, again, and I just keep, I feel like I'm harping on it, and I don't mean to. I just know that you guys are thinking about someday using ShopPack, and I guarantee you that 3 months from now when I'm training you in ShopPack, you're going to be like, well, I'm missing all my labor for my installation. And it's like, crap, that's because you know what, we were doing the miscellaneous, and it doesn't bring over true labor hours, which is going to affect you down the road, because it's great that we added it to the quote, but guess what? Now we have to fabricate it on the ShopPack side, which who wants to do that? I'd rather see the hours come over. So if we just think of it in terms of hours and you use that miscellaneous as a calculator, between you, me, and the fence, both Dave and I have tried and are still trying to get them to somehow write code that makes that dollar amount turn into labor hours. But neither one of us had been successful, and so both of us did it exactly the way I just taught you. It says it's $111. I charge $75 an hour. That's an hour and a half for me. Boom, I'm moving on in life.
Okay, yeah, that seems to be the way that works.
It seems pretty easy, and to me, that's very simplistic. Now, again, because you're just figuring delivery, even easier, you're not doing install. So if you know it's 5 trips and it's 20 miles away because this guy's a pain in your butt, then throw in 5 trips, 20 miles a day, and you'll get your amount of dollars with that overhead and profit on it, and you just recalculate it into your labor hours. Sound
Is
good?
that, yep. Is that a good way to do our stuff? Just making a summary called Horizon and throwing our stuff in there, or?
Yeah, absolutely. Now, again, if you do it as a no print like that, it's just going to include it. But the other thing you could do is you could actually just have it not. You can break it out, or if you want to show it, or you can not show it by unchecking the boxes that say delivery and install.
Yeah, we wouldn't want to show that that'd be an internal thing or
Yeah.
a takeoff.
Yeah, and if you do it the way you're doing it right now, where you put no print at the top of it. So now if we went ahead and previewed this document, it should include that $200 into our main quote. Actually, you don't even show the price at all, do you? So this is easy peasy. You would just add it to the pre-tax dollars. Yeah, you guys have it super, super simple. Yeah. Perfect. I like your tax thing. That's cool.
Yeah, feel free to review this. If you
No, that looks really good, because basically you're saying to yourselves, okay, if you guys are taxable, then this is what it is. If you're not, then this is what it is. So I have other customers that just literally put in all caps, no taxes included in this. If you are taxable, let us know. I'll tell you what the tax is.
I think this job ended up, it was like $5,030 or something. So, we like to round up, I guess.
Yeah, well, now we've added the install, though, so we would want to look at what the cost is now, because now it's changed. So if you go to the very top of the tree, so now it's up to $5,300, because I think we added about $200 for install. And field dimensions, you added that.
Field measure in there.
So if you hit the top bit, it's on the second line down. Oops. Base bid. Hit the base bid. It's the second line. $237 worth of delivery charge.
Yep.
Now, this goes back to our letter where we come up with our $5,100. Now, say we get the job and we're using Shop Pack. And we say we've negotiated the job, like, okay, we're going to give you the job, but it's for $5,000. How does that affect Shop Pack and, where you put your number in?
Sure. So let's say you decide that you're going to kind of give it away to them for $5,000. Okay. One of the easiest ways is to just play with your profit and lower it. Because again, if they come back to you and say, well, I really need you to, excuse me. Oh my goodness. Usually I can hit mute before, but I couldn't. Wow.
Okay, so I guess what you're getting at, so like, we get the job, we should change the pricing here before we send it over to Shop Packs?
Absolutely, yeah, because this is what you got it for. So, again, you can do a couple things. If it's a taxable job, you could just put in material and subtract out the dollar amount that it is less. I don't particularly care for that, because material is material and I still need it to build. So it's really coming out of my profit. So for my money, I would do it as a profit. So I would go up to my 2 check marks, and I would change my profit markup to maybe try 5% and see what happens. And click OK, and see now it's down to 5,086. So now you could actually go in there and you could change your adjusted unit price to equal, so they get to exactly $5,000.
Okay, but if we get it like close enough,
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yep.
If we discount it like 2,000 for some reason, you definitely want to.
Yeah, profit's just a great place to play with it, because it's instantaneous. You see what it is. Usually in your brain, you have a golden number. Like, we never went below 2% profit. That was just our steadfast rule. And so, as an estimator, we had the power to do that. And if the customer came back and said, hey, I need this for less, then you could play with that profit instantly and say, man, I can't do it. If you went down to 2 and you still were too high, it'd be like, I just can't. I'm sorry, I can't. If you found somebody that can, go for it. It's kind of like the used car salesman. You're going to let them walk out the door, because you're really not going to make any money if you do it.
Okay.
So, yeah, great questions.
Let's see. For alternates, are they always like additive, or I guess when you get there?
No, they can absolutely be a negative.
It doesn't say add or deduct, and I know contractors, they always want to see if it's an add or deduct. So is there a way?
Right. So what I would do is, if it's an alternate, go ahead and right click and make a new summary node.
Come on, mouse.
And if you want to name it alternate, you can, but you don't have to, because as soon as you flip the switch for alternate, it gives it a status after it. So call it whatever you'd like to call it.
Oh, coat room or something. Like coat room or coats or whatever.
Okay. And then open up the kitchenette and just grab a couple things inside of it and copy them down. Yeah, just highlight 3 of them from the top. Oh, nope, just highlight them all the way on the left. Yeah, there you go. Just drag it down. There you go. Right click and choose copy. And then go into the coat room, right click in the middle and choose paste. Okay, so now those are in there. So let's say this is a negative. If you change the quantity in the center flyout panel to a -1, nope, in the first little flyout panel. Yep, right there. Your cost is instantly a negative. You can see it's a red number. And if you make this an alternate, put the switch, you can see it's a -dash in the little circle that's on top of the folder. And then if you printed this as a document with an alternate on here, go ahead and preview it. I don't know if you have your alternate set up. We'll have to look in a second.
I think it is.
No, I don't know if we have it in this one yet or not.
Yep, there you go. We didn't set it to show the status of an alternate though, so maybe we want to see that too.
Okay, so if it comes in with not a minus sign, it's always an add.
Yeah, so see there's 2 little check marks right in the center. It says print alternate status and print change order status. Yeah, right there. Put those in play. That's nice to have because then it tells you what it is. Now alternates, we're going to show our pricing. So again, in this kind of a document, you probably would pull that out, but maybe you wouldn't because you're really pulling that out of the cost. So it's not part of the original cost. So when you look at this, if you were printing your sell prices, it would show that 5,000 whatever it was, and then it would show this as a separate entity completely. It is not included in the main cost. As soon as you hit an alternate, it pulls it out.
Okay. So by default, they're additive. So we don't give it a negative value.
No, not necessarily by default. It's what your quantity is. Is your quantity a negative? If it's a negative, then it's a deduct. If it's a positive, then it's an add.
Okay.
So lots of people would say, you know, well, I don't know about that coat room. I'm just not sure. Can you tell me what the cost of this whole job would be without it? Boom, you make it an alternate just by flipping that switch. Moving on in life, you know, let's make this as easy as it can be because Susie Homemaker is a pain in the butt. And she keeps changing her mind, right?
When you turn up the profit margin.
Yeah, we turned it back up.
No, when somebody keeps changing their mind.
Oh, there you go. Well, for me, it's all about the change orders because then, you know, if that person's really a pain, that's when you start playing with the change orders. Oh, you want me to do that? And I swore I would never be Susie Homemaker, and then I did a kitchen. And then they put in the lights, and I really hated where they put the dimmers. It was like over by the garage door. Hello, I want the dimmers over here. And guess what? It was a $145 change order. It was my own fault because I didn't say, I want the dimmers here. And I paid it. So it is what it is, right?
So now, this was a default job. You have, even though everything was default, do you have to assign that job spec even?
No. Nope. If it's all the norm and everything is the same as your norm, then yeah, you wouldn't have a job spec. And again, if it's just one thing, you know, let's say the poles are different. You don't need a job spec. You could go in and just double click on the poles and change them for the entire job. Or if it's the poles and the slides, and that's the only thing that's different, by all means, change those.
Okay. Yeah, I did notice on your slides that you can't change those in job spec. Like they're kind of locked into your 4 slides of different depths. Which
yeah, it's because the slides are so. Go ahead and open up. Let's see if we've got a drawer box. Open up your kitchenette.
So would that be a case if they they really, really wanted the, I don't know, like some special slide, we'd have to go in and
Add it to the library.
or do a find and replace on a specific job? Or...
Well, no, you'd want to add it to the library and then add that spec. Because here's the thing. When it comes to a drawer slide, go ahead and click on base cabinet 2-door, 2-drawer for me over on the left. Yeah, we need a real one. And so go down to the drawers. Yeah, just scroll in the middle there. Keep going. So you see how you have all these drawer slides? Actually,
Right.
that's your shelf standards. Where the heck are your drawer slides? Keep scrolling. Must be down further. There we go. Keep going. There we are. Okay, so when you look at this, you can see that it finds it based on the dimensions. And so you can only have the ones that we can put in there. So if you do have another set of drawers that you want me to add, let's do that. Because honestly, it's pretty simplistic. We'll just copy the spec the way it is, and we'll recreate it, and we'll put in another set of different drawer boxes or drawer slides that you can choose from. But
Well, I mean, those are our standard, but I guess I'm saying, like, okay, you know, we try to push those on people, but, you know, say, they really wanted
Accurate 53,
Yeah.
58.
now, is that in your repertoire as a library item?
I don't think I've had.
Okay.
It's in our system now.
Okay, so let's go to the library and let's check. Nope, go over to the library above the word manage for me. The library books.
Oh.
Yeah, 2 more. There you go. And let's go ahead and make this bigger because, wow, it's tiny. Holy Toledo. All right, and go to hardware on the left and slides on the right. Okay. So these are the ones you've got in there right now. Accurite Eclipse, Hafelas, the Futabas, and then just a basic file drawer at 150s. So if there's another kind you want to add, we could do it pretty easily. I would just go to the Futabas, open the first one, and then choose Make Copy. So down at the bottom here it says Make Copy. Now rename the one that's up there. So call it whatever the other name is. And you can delete some of it, but don't delete all of it, because obviously part of it is exactly the same, right? US Futaba is not what it is, so what is it?
Well, I guess, I don't know, maybe we're getting a little off. It was in the job spec, I didn't see where you could actually change the slide. It was like, you know, where you got the library books, it lets you change stuff. Like the slide.
Okay, let's go look at a job spec then, because I don't think that's true.
I could have been completely
Right
wrong.
click and choose new. Call it slides. Okay, and just grab the cabinet one at the bottom here and drag it up to the right. We'll just take a blank one, it'll make it faster.
You keep me in line.
What'd you say?
Oh, it was just so sort of slow. I was thinking we needed like a Cat 5 line or Cat 6 line.
Yeah, exactly. Just click on the word cabinets for me. Okay, and over on the right, we've got second from the bottom, it says drawer slide. So you have those 3 kinds to pick from. So if we want to add a 4th or a 5th, we need to create that spec. And we have to create the actual library items first. Okay, so if you create the library items you want, and then you come in here, we can actually change that. So right now it's using, your default is looks like the 100-pound full extension one. Looks like Dave didn't rename it. Is that your normal?
Yeah, that's our norm.
Okay. So it looks like he just didn't rename it to say the Futaba like you have there.
Right, which is fine, but I guess.
Okay, I was gonna say if you'd like to, we can do that. But so the bottom line is I can create an additional spec. So you would see a 4th one or a 5th one, and we just need to have the different library items in play, because then we have to point it. This is one of those ones where some of them where it's just a library item, super easy. We just add another library item. When you click on that section, boom, there they are. Slides is a real oddity because it is based on the size of the drawer box. So it has to have this predetermined set of job specs. And you know what? It's probably easier if I just show you them, because maybe that'll make more sense. So go ahead and say okay. Now I'm going to show you some stuff, and at first I don't really want you to change anything about it. So if you guys decide you want to do these, it's super easy to do, and I'll absolutely teach you how to do it. So go up to define. and come down to job specs and go to setup configuration. So this is how we design job specs and how we can remake new ones. And again, slides are pretty easy because we're going to copy and paste from what we've got there. We just need to have another set of information in there to pick from. And we can even change that verbiage to say US Futaba if you want on this spec, which will be even cooler. Do. We need like a Jeopardy music or something in the background. Now, of course, it's going a lot slower because it is literally a, you know, we're going through it and then we're going through it through someone else's system and the whole bit. So it's taking a lot of bandwidth. Wow, this is really a long time.
Mm-hmm.
So Dave's going to join us on Friday for our session?
Yes, sir. And I've sent him all the little questions that we have. There we go. Woo! Everybody yell. All right, so open up the cabinets, hit the plus sign for me, and open up the base and then go down to drawer slide and hit that plus sign. Okay, so just for fun, double click on the file extension one. Okay, so as you can see, all of this information is in here. So all we would do to create a new one was we would create a new slide verbiage there. We'll copy these parts in and we'll then point it to the correct library item so that when and if you choose that, that's what'll be the one that gets chosen. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think so. So like, you know, if we have some strange slide that keeps popping up, that we should create one like for that slide.
So what we can do is we would go up to the setup on the left. We would actually create a new one. So you come down to over here on the left where it says drawer slides on the left. Yep. Come on down. And you click drawer slide. Yep. And so now you can see we're in the 300. So 320, 322, 324. So go down to that area. So now we could use 326. So you would just right click in that center section. Yep. Right where you are. Just right click and choose new. And call it 326 and then give it whatever it is. So it would be, is there another kind of name you want to use?
I don't know. This seems like a little more advanced.
It is. It's very advanced. Yeah.
Do this later.
Super advanced. Yeah. Writing. I will tell you that I don't even know how to do all of these. This one I totally know how to, but when it comes to job specs, some of them are super elaborate and others are pretty simplistic like this. So when and if you guys decide you want to do this, let me know. We'll do it really, you know, we'll
maybe put a pin in this and we'll
you got it. But you can see why it is the way it is now. At least that you understand that it's very specific because it's all about sizes.
Yeah. Isn't slides the only thing that works that way, or do you have other?
Pretty much. I think slides are pretty much the only one that are like that. You pick the hardest one.
Okay, well, that's good to know.
I think the boxes, maybe the Bloom Meta Box might do that too, and the Zargan might do that.
Okay.
All right, go ahead and click OK. We'll get out of this.
I think my one minor last question is when you did the print for job spec, when you add that to a report, I swear you had one where it just printed the things that were different. Is that true, or was I thinking wrong?
I think you might be thinking wrong.
Okay, that's fine. Because, yeah, when I did mine, it printed everything, which is fine. But
yeah, no, I think it's either everything or just the description, which most people just use the description because, you know, there's a standard set that they use all the time. And so then the only thing that's changing is, you know, the slide and the pull and the color of the interior or something, and everything else is pretty standard. And some people actually have the standard stuff in their header or their exclusions, whatever you prefer. So think about how you want your document to look and go from there.
Okay. That's all my questions.
You also had the question about arranging the room names.
Oh yeah, like I know we put it on our wish list, and I'm going to bug Dave about it. But you know, auto sorting our room names by you know, they're alphanumerically would be great when we have a huge job. But how do you? I guess we can't do it in this, but you said you can slide them around, like and rearrange them manually. Or?
Yeah. Do you have something you want to open up?
I wasn't able to.
So right now, let's say we wanted to put 006 reception underneath. For me, again, I'm always afraid I'm going to lose my connection. So I would right click on 006 and choose copy. And then I would go to room 201, right click, and choose paste before or after. And now it goes in there. And then I would go up and delete 006 because
So you can't like drag them to rearrange them? Okay. So in theory, how difficult would it be to make something to, you know, sort those? Like, you know, we got 100 rooms and, you know, we'd like them all to line up, you know, 100, 101, 102, 103, 104 if we accidentally didn't put them in right.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, definitely ask Dave that question when he's on with us. Maybe I'm being a spaz and there is a way. I've never had anyone ask me that, though. Because normally when you're quoting it, you're kind of quoting it by the way the drawings are laid out.
Yeah, but, you know, sometimes you miss, you know, like, oh, this closet was over here and it's actually 10, you know.
But then you would just do what we did. You just would move that one thing. So I guess I can't imagine that you would sort it by the alphabet or by numeric when you probably quoted it that way for the most part. But maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes I jump around, you know, I do the easy stuff first and, you know, like if
30 exam rooms and then do a receptionist.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I will, it's definitely a question to ask him because I've never had anyone ask me that. So let's triple check that there isn't a way that I don't know about.
Maybe it's kind of spoiled on our system because that's one thing it does do is whenever, you know, you put it in, it sorts it.
Yeah. I mean, let's go up to the document settings, the blue and red, and click OK. And where you've got sequence estimate rows, it's right above the print columns. Click that and hit options. So primary sort. Yeah, see, there's nothing about, you can sort it by location, I guess, but so if you put in the location, go down to location for fun. Let's try something. And click OK. Click OK again. And then let's move them around. So let's see, you've got 10A300. Go to the next one down. The one you're on location, it says 10A300. So what's 103 next? 12. A4. See, there's no rhyme or reason to it.
Yeah, we're just adding random numbers.
So, I mean, I guess we could try it. Let's see what it looks like when you preview it. Yeah, we got nothing. We got a hard nothing. So yeah, let's ask him. Again, I don't think there's any way to do that. Just uncheck that, yeah. But we'll triple check. And again, like you said, the moving it down, you can certainly grab something and merge it down below, but you can't like grab it and drag it down so that it goes underneath custom die wall per se. It's like if you wanted 103 to go down, or you wanted 006 to go back above it. If you just drag it up there, it doesn't do anything.
Okay. Yeah, I was just kind of thinking of drafting because I know that's
the first. What did you just do?
She copied it and pasted
I
it.
just copied and pasted.
Just say, wait a minute, it worked. No, it didn't. She copied and pasted. Okay, I feel better. I hate when I don't know something. I mean, I know I shouldn't feel that way, but there's like 1,008 things times 1,008 to know. In 16 years, I've worked in the system, and I still can't possibly know everything. Nobody can. I think Dave's the only one that does. And even then, he called me the other day and asked me a question. I was just dancing around my room because he asked me a question. It's like, yeah, and I knew the answer. All right, so change orders. Let's look back on that location. Remember, we fixed the Thompson prison and we added a location. Let's see what it looks like when we print the document now. Okay, so there you go. It's showing up. Architectural reference is showing up as location. But again, I will definitely check as to why that's not doing that, because it's not doing it on mine either. I'm absolutely able to duplicate that. And I'm on the highest build, so the newest build, so something is awry. All right. Cool. All right. So have we created a change order document for you guys yet? I'm looking
Yes.
at my notes, okay. So I think our next step then was that we were going to actually take a look at starting our first kind of doing a quote on our own. So do you have a real quote you want to start working in?
Yeah, the one that
Just Thompson
Yeah,
Prison.
the Thompson prison, that's an actual quote.
Okay. So is there anything else you want to do to that? Do you have any questions about it?
I think we kind of answered most of them already.
Okay. All right. So is there any buyouts in this where it's just a true pass-through where you need to create an item?
No, it was like the easiest job that could have come across.
Okay. So how did it compare to the way you quoted it before then?
I was going to do that next. I haven't got a chance to compare it. But
Do you want to look at it, break it down, and check it out?
I don't have prices, I guess, for,
As to what it would be in prime, what it would be in our current system.
Okay. All right.
I was going to just run, since it was so small and basic, I was going to put the whole thing in the current system and we could look at them side by side later.
Okay. Well, do you guys want to stop then until you get a chance to do that? I mean, a lot of times we'll do it together, but it's, obviously you guys as a group are working fantastically together.
And you were going to tweak our assembly labor hours. Is that what you're going to do? Or?
Well, we'll look at it. Well, I mean, we'll definitely want to break it down and see. Like I had another customer earlier today who was like, well, our install is super high. Well, of course, we start looking at it and we have some rounding feature in because they do everything by the lineal foot by a subcontractor. He charges them $35 an hour. Well, the way we wrote it had a rounding. So immediately it's taking a 5 foot and rounding it to 6. So we knew, okay, we're adding extra. You got 100 of those. That's a lot of extra money. So again, we start to see things like that when we break it down. So ultimately, I guess what I'd want to look at is, okay, what are you charging for a base? What are we charging for a base? And then we kind of check it out. I'm assuming you guys have looked through your materials and updated all the pricing?
Yes. I guess I do have pricing. I did print out some basics, so we could, I think we could probably,
Okay. We can take a look at it and just kind of start the process so you can see what we might do. I mean, you guys are like leaps and bounds ahead. I was telling Russ the other day, I think they're almost implemented and I'm halfway through. So,
are we your favorites?
I'm sorry?
Are we your favorites?
Right now. And the weirdest part is, honestly, usually groups are not. They're usually my least favorite because you get so much distension and pushing and you guys as a group collectively, I've never seen a group that works this well together discussing things. I'm super impressed. All right, so let's open it up and let's check inside of the first kitchenette.
So what do you have on that price list for
You guys hang on for just 1 second for me.
Sure.